The conflict between Israel and Hezbollah sharply escalated over the past week in one of their most intense fire exchanges yet. Today, the IDF carried out hundreds of strikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, with the IDF issuing a direct warning to residents of southern Lebanon, including civilians in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, evacuate and stay away from Hezbollah's infrastructure and from their operatives. The IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari said Hezbollah stores strategic weapons in civilian buildings and uses the population as a human shield and knowingly puts it in danger. He said in every home they targeted, there were rockets, drones, and missiles, which were intended to kill Israeli civilians, and Israel won't have it. In his statement, IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari explained that Hezbollah conceals cruise missiles and other arms inside residential buildings.
For over 20 years, Hezbollah has deployed its arms inside homes and militarized civilian infrastructure. As a result, the Hezbollah terrorist organization has turned southern Lebanon into a battlefield. This is a village in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah stores cruise missiles, rockets, launchers, and UAVs inside civilian homes, hidden behind the Lebanese population living in the village.
The IDF carried out precise strikes against such missile infrastructure and said it would continue to strike Hezbollah positions throughout Lebanon. It issued a warning to Lebanese civilians, advising them to avoid areas and facilities being used by Hezbollah.
We advise civilians from Lebanese villages located in and next to buildings and areas used by Hezbollah for military purpose, such as those used to store weapons, to immediately move out of harm's way for their own safety. I want to repeat, move out of harm's way immediately. Hezbollah is endangering you and your families.
The IDF called and sent text messages to residents of southern Lebanon, urging them to stay away from Hezbollah infrastructure and their operatives. Dozens of Hezbollah rockets were launched deep into the Israeli north, as far as the Sea of Galilee, the Carmel, and south of Haifa, with several injured. The escalation follows a barrage of more than 150 Hezbollah rockets the previous day, with several injuries. Meanwhile, Israeli warplanes are launching the heaviest bombardment across southern Lebanon in nearly a year of conflict, striking hundreds of targets today, with the Lebanese Health Ministry reporting around 200 killed and several hundred wounded as a result of the strikes. Overnight, Israeli forces intercepted a drone originating from Iraq, which had entered Israeli airspace from Syria, with the Islamic resistance in Iraq claiming responsibility. As a result of the heavy crossfire and this latest escalation, Israel closed schools and restricted gatherings in many northern areas. The Israeli Security Cabinet is to convene this evening to approve further plans.
אנחנו נשנה את מאזן הביטחוני, מאזן הכוחות בצפון. זה בדיוק מה שאנחנו עושים. אנחנו משמידים אלפי טילים ורקטות שמכוונים לערי ישראל ולאזרחי ישראל.
And just as Netanyahu had finished speaking, additional Hezbollah rockets were launched towards Judea and Samaria. And Lebanon's Hezbollah Deputy Secretary General Naim Qassem has said that the group has entered a new phase in its battle with Israel, which he described as an open-ended battle of reckoning. Let's take a look.
لسنا بحاجة إلى إطلاق التهديدات ولن نحدد كيفية الرد على العدوان. لقد دخلنا في مرحلة جديدة عنوانها معركة الحساب المفتوح، نتابع فيها جبهة الإسناد والمواجهة، ومن خارج الصندوق بين الحين والآخر نقتلهم ونقاتلهم من حيث يحتسبون ومن حيث لا يحتسبون.
Lebanon is reporting that hundreds of people have been killed in the country in targeted attacks in the last week, the bloodiest battle between the two countries since 2006. Now, the U.S. has warned Israel not to escalate the situation with Hezbollah despite rising tensions and rocket fire between the sides. More on this from ILTV's Devo Klein.
The U.S. has warned Israel against opening a second front with Lebanon following an unprecedented attack on Hezbollah last week. In the attack, pagers and radios used by Hezbollah members exploded, killing 37 people and wounding thousands. On Friday, Israel conducted an airstrike on Beirut's southern suburbs, killing a top commander of Hezbollah, the Iran-aligned, Lebanon-based armed group.
We believe that there are better ways to try to get those Israeli citizens back in their homes up in the north and to keep those that are there safely than a war, than an escalation, than opening up a second front there at that border with Lebanon against Hezbollah. We still believe that there can be time and space for a diplomatic solution here, and that's what we're working on.
President Joe Biden echoed Kirby's statement, saying the U.S. will do everything possible to prevent a wider war in the Middle East.
We're going to do everything we can to keep a wider war from breaking out, and we're still pushing hard.
Meanwhile, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant spoke with U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin overnight. Gallant provided a situation assessment of Hezbollah's threats and briefed Austin on IDF operations aimed at degrading Hezbollah's ability to launch attacks against Israeli civilians.
And joining me now to discuss all of these latest developments is Itamar Yaar, a former deputy head of the National Security Council. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Itamar, it seems that the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah has sharply escalated in recent days, certainly today. The IDF now issued a serious warning to residents of southern Lebanon to evacuate areas near Hezbollah infrastructure. This is the first time that they do this. We've seen such evacuation calls in Gaza, but not yet in Lebanon. What do you make of this?
First of all, I would like to say that the war is not against Lebanon, it's against Hezbollah. Having said that, I think that what is happening in the last few days send a message to the state of Lebanon, if there is such a state at all, but mainly to the public in Lebanon, that the situation that the Hezbollah hit Israel and the Israeli civilians, and in the other side, it's some kind of a private business of only fighters and Hezbollah, it's over. And what is the Israeli side try to do now is to try to do two things at the same time. First of all, to try to target all kind of Hezbollah facilities to avoid Hezbollah attacks. At the same time, it's some kind of a message to Iran and to Hezbollah that the price that they will pay if it will go on the same direction will be higher than expected. And we hope that the two kind of messages, a diplomatic message and using force, will convince the Iranians that the price is too high, and they will make sure that Hezbollah will stop attacking Israel.
Now, we're seeing these videos that the IDF has released about Hezbollah concealing missiles in residential areas. How much of a challenge does this pose for Israel's precision strike operations?
Look, it's not, these are not news. We knew about it for decades. The IDF had gathering information about these places, and you can assume that the attacks that were taken this morning were prepared long before. We knew Israel didn't have an interest to open a war in Lebanon along these years, but what is happening now convinced the Israeli decision makers that we don't have another choice. The only way to stop Hezbollah is to try to attack these kind of weapons, even if they are within civilian areas. Now, at the same time, what Israel is doing now is sending a message to the civilians. Look, according to the international law, we are willing to attack these places, and because of that, we try to convince you to leave these places to make sure that you will not be a part of this attack. These are exactly the rules of the international law. So Israel tried, first of all, to go according to these rules, and in the same time, to attack all these facilities to make sure that they will not target Israel.
In your opinion, will we be seeing a further escalation over the next 24, 48 hours in which Hezbollah would extend their range of missiles and place Israelis in shelters in additional parts of the country?
I'm sorry to say that I don't see a situation that this kind of attacks from both sides will be finished in the coming 24 hours or even 48 hours. I'm sure that the decision makers in Iran sit now around the table and check with themselves, is the price is the price that they are willing to pay, not only in the Hezbollah sense, but also in the Iranian sense. We need to remember something very important. In the end of the day, Iran established Hezbollah and support Hezbollah and supply weapons and training and all that. The main reason for it was to make sure that the Iranians will have Hezbollah as some kind of a threat against Israel thoughts to attack nuclear or Iran that is doing what they do to reach nuclear capability. And they don't. The strategic Iranian thinking will not allow them to lose all that only because a guy called Sinwar decided to explode the area a few months ago.
So I want to take you from the north down to the south to Gaza as well. It was revealed that Netanyahu might be considering a plan to turn northern Gaza into a military zone and essentially put a siege on Hamas in this area. What do we know about this, and what are your thoughts?
It's not enough, I think, for the state of Israel. And the prime minister that mentioned it yesterday didn't say that he will go for it. The only thing that he said was that, yes, he knows that there is some kind of idea, and this is one of the ideas that are on the table. I really, really believe and really, really hope that it's not a serious movement. I think that in the end of the day, Israel needs to try its best to try to have a deal in the south that will include the end of the war, the IDF troops out of Gaza, the hostages back home, prisoners will go back to the Palestinian areas, and it will help also to solve the problem in the north and in the other areas.
Itamar Yael, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We have with us now Jamie Geller, a volunteer with Yad Ezra V'Shulamit, who will talk today about the challenges of delivering food to those in need in the war-torn north. The organization is supplying essential food items to northern residents under fire. Jamie, thank you for joining us. What can you tell us about getting food to people in the north?
Well, I can tell you, first of all, we have 60,000 evacuees from the north for almost a year who are refugees in their own country. And now the Home Front Command has contacted Yad Ezra V'Shulamit because they intend to evacuate another 16,000 families indefinitely because of the escalation in the north. The north is on fire. I'm here in Israel. I mean, the rocket barrages are going back and forth. We're hearing about fatalities. It is so heartbreaking and so challenging. And now we have to feed these 16,000 new families in addition to the current evacuees indefinitely. So the Home Front Command and IDF have turned to Yad Ezra V'Shulamit, have asked for help with our 15 trucks, our warehouses, and feeding these families. We have taken on to feed 1,000 families indefinitely, but we cannot do that without your help. These are people who have been basically in a semi-state of war for almost a year and now are being uprooted from their homes right before the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah. We cannot leave them hungry. The most basic necessities and needs, food and drinks for people, we must be able to help them, and we need your help to do that.
Now, how does the war affect food distribution?
Well, of course. I mean, we were always, as Yad Ezra V'Shulamit, committed to feeding the poor in Israel. And as you know, last year, since we did something together, we sent 55,000 food baskets for the holidays. This year, the need is 62,000 food baskets. There is poor, and then there are the new poor, those that have lost their jobs because of the war, who used to be givers just like you and I, and now they need to be on the receiving end. Then, of course, there are the war-torn widows and orphans who have lost their fathers and husbands in battle defending Israel, which is not just defending the state of Israel for the Jewish people that live here, but they're defending Israel on behalf of the Jewish people around the world, and really as a beacon of light and democracy in the Middle East for the entire world. And they are going into their first Rosh Hashanah without their husbands and fathers. How can they go in hungry? And I just feel, I know you and I, if someone would come to us and say, I'm hungry, please help me, we would not be able to turn them away. Please consider me speaking to you now, representing the tens of thousands of poor and new poor and war-torn widows and orphans who need food for every day and for the holidays.
How many baskets of food are you planning to give out for the holidays?
Well, with your help, because we're completely partners in this, and of course, with God's help, everything is a partnership, all three of us, we hope to give out over 60,000 food baskets, 62,000 to be exact. It's everything that people need for the holidays. That's in addition to our regular food distribution. Those are just the holiday baskets. And it's everything that someone would need to be able to make this high holiday of Rosh Hashanah something special and something sweet as they hope and pray for a new sweet year full of good tidings and blessings. So a small food basket is for $120 and a larger food basket is $150. I'm asking you to please dig deep. This has not been an easy year and we're hoping for a better year. Please help people celebrate and welcome the incoming year without empty tables.
Now, what can people do to help Israel now in this crisis, additionally?
Well, first of all, you can pray. We have said God is great, and with God's help, we will survive and we will win this war. We are in this together. The Jewish people and everyone around the world who's praying for our survival and hoping for the best for us, we appreciate it so much. In addition, please, please donate. Please help us put food on the table for these families, many of which who are celebrating, and I'm going to say that in quotes, the Rosh Hashanah holiday, the new year, without their fathers, without their husbands for the first time as they've fallen in battle. These are new widows and new orphans. These are new poor who were givers just like you and I last year, and now due to the war have lost their job and need to be on the receiving end. So please, together we can get through this. Together we can win. Together we can survive. Please go ahead and donate $120 for a small basket, $150 for a large basket. We're aiming for 62,000 food baskets this holiday. And of course, the everyday needs to feed all of the poor in Israel and those who are hungry. Please help us.
Jamie, thank you so much for your incredible work and for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
And as the IDF continues to carry out security efforts in the Gaza Strip, the Prime Minister is reportedly considering a new plan to get the job done faster. More on this from ILTV's Mayan Hoffman.
The IDF said that the Israel Air Force had carried out a precise strike on Hamas terrorists inside a command center in central Gaza, located in a former school. The IDF emphasized that measures were taken to avoid civilian harm, using precise munitions, aerial surveillance, and intelligence. Hamas terrorists used the Khalid ibn al-Walid school as a base to plan and carry out attacks against IDF forces and the State of Israel. Meanwhile, it seems Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is reportedly considering a plan proposed by retired Major General Yoav Eiland to expedite a hostage deal and defeat Hamas. The plan, according to Israel's Khan News, suggests evacuating approximately 300,000 Gazans from the northern part of the Strip and turning the area into a military zone. Eiland believes that this strategy would pressure the local population to turn against Hamas. In a closed meeting of the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, Netanyahu reportedly called the plan logical. He also disclosed that only about half of the hostages are believed to be alive, according to the latest available intelligence. This assessment was made before the recent murder of 6 hostages in the Rafah tunnel, including American-Israeli Hersh Goldberg-Polin. Prior to the execution, Israel estimated that 57 hostages were alive. Now, the number is believed to be around 50 to 51. Meanwhile, the White House confirmed that Hamas is stalling ceasefire negotiations. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby told U.S. media, "We haven't made any progress in the past 2 weeks, and it's not for lack of effort, but it seems Sinwar is not negotiating in good faith."
Israel is once again investigating whether Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar was injured or killed in recent airstrikes, though the IDF said it could neither confirm nor deny the reports. More on this from ILTV's Mayan Hoffman.
Israel is investigating whether Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar was injured or killed in recent IDF airstrikes in Gaza. Despite reports that Sinwar is out of contact, security officials caution that there is no confirmed intelligence suggesting that he was harmed or killed. The IDF stated, "We do not have information that confirms or refutes the matter," and emphasized there have been no targeted strikes in areas linked to his presence. One analysis suggested that some Israeli officials are trying to use psychological warfare against mid-level Hamas commanders to get them to cut some of their own deals for immunity if they return Israeli hostages in their custody. Israel, with significant U.S. support, has been intensively hunting Sinwar, the mastermind of the deadly October 7th massacre. While Israel now controls large parts of Gaza, Sinwar has remained elusive, avoiding capture. Initially, he used electronic communication, but mediators say he has since stopped. According to the Wall Street Journal, Sinwar has relied on secret communication methods he developed while in Israeli prison, using encrypted messages delivered by couriers, sometimes even civilians. Despite ongoing efforts, he has successfully evaded Israeli forces for over 11 months, staying hidden in Gaza's tunnels. Last month, the IDF confirmed the killing of Hamas's military wing leader, Mohammed Zif. While they did not reveal how they confirmed his death, they dismissed claims that it was a coincidence that it happened just one day after the assassinations of Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh and Hezbollah's military leader, Fuad Shukar. This is not the first time such rumors have swelled. In December, rumors spread that Sinwar was dead, wounded, or had fled to Sinai. It later emerged that these were either his hiding tactics or psychological warfare meant to weaken Hamas as the IDF advanced in Khan Yunis.
With the ongoing war, countless women have been left tragically widowed as their husbands serve in the IDF. Over 180 women gathered for the IDF Widows and Orphans organization Stronger Than the Wind Conference, united by the shared loss of their spouses in the recent war against Hamas.
In Kfar Saba on Tuesday, over 180 women came together under heartbreaking circumstances for the IDF Widows and Orphans Organization's conference, Stronger Than the Wind, Embrace, Strengthen, and Support. These women, fresh widows from across Israeli society, Jewish, Druze, Muslim, Bedouin, and Christian, are now bound by the devastating loss of their spouse in the war against Hamas. The conflict, which erupted on October 7th, claimed the lives of more than 1,200 people, leaving countless families shattered. Among them was Daphna Russo, whose husband, Uri Shimon Russo, was killed defending Kibbutz Kfar Aza. She spoke about the lifeline that the IDF Widows and Orphans has provided her, saying the organization takes care of us with so much sensitivity because they want us to be okay. They want us to lead meaningful lives, although we're devastated. The IDF Widows and Orphans, founded in 1991, works independently to support the widows and orphans of Israel's fallen heroes. From kids' camps to holiday care packages, the organization ensures no one faces their grief alone. For many women like Ayelet Sivan, whose husband was killed in combat, the conference offered a rare chance to connect with others who truly understand their pain. The event opened with an emotional performance by an IDF music group and a heartfelt video message from actress Noah Tishby, herself a daughter of an IDF widow, saying, quote, "Your spouses fell fighting heroically, but the heroism is yours. You are all superheroes." In the midst of unimaginable sorrow, these women are finding strength, solidarity, and hope as they navigate life after loss, united by their courage and resilience. Sagot Winery, where passion meets tradition. Nestled in the heart of Binyamin, our vineyards yield exquisite wines crafted with generations of expertise.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Partly cloudy skies are expected tonight around the countries, with temperatures sitting at lows of around 19 degrees Celsius or 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, sunny skies and warm weather are expected, as temperatures should climb to reach highs of 30 degrees Celsius or 87 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channel, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, iltv.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Sivan Raviv. Be well, be safe, and thank you so much for watching.